Hello, welcome to my shop. Sorry for the extra noise. The furnace is right here. This is my shop. It is a two-car garage. And even though I am in sunny California, we're expecting a storm in the next hour. So the furnace is on heating the house. Today I am working on making earring bowls for my granddaughters-in-law Christmas. So I'm going to tell you how I'm doing them. This is a multi-day project because I'm making them out of pieces of scrap wood that I have that I glue together, and so most of the time spent on this project is waiting for glue to dry. Anyway, let's get started. As I mentioned, these are made out of scrap pieces of wood, little pieces of things I have here and there, and I glue them together. I have already glued these two together, and these two pieces I put little pieces of a small piece to make them as wide as they are tall. Now I don't have a lot of talent in gluing, and so rather than gluing everything up at once, I've tried that and it has been a horrible mess. I glue a little bit, let it dry, then I glue some more. So right now I'm working on gluing these two pieces to this center core. When you get finished, this is what it will look like. This is another blank for another one of my granddaughters-in-law. And to make it more interesting when it becomes a bowl is I cut along the 45 and I rotate one piece and then put them back together, and this is what it can look like. Now sometimes I celebrate that I got the joints just right. That's this bowl that I'm almost done with. And sometimes they don't come out totally right, so I celebrate the joint. And in this case, I took some pieces of Wenge that I had because the joints didn't line up as perfectly as I would have liked. I took some pieces of Wingate and put them in here to magnify the joint and diminish the fact that the lines don't totally line up. So that's what I'm working on today, is the glue. In preparation for making the cuts in the bandsaw, the first thing I did was find the exact center of each of these blanks, and I took my scratch awl and punched a hole in the center of each one. The reason for that hole is so that my compass has a place to anchor when I make the circles. Now you'll notice that some of this wood is very dark and a pencil line doesn't show very well. So after I scribed with the compass, I took my silver Sharpie and ran around the edge. I'm going to be freehanding these on the table on the bandsaw. I tried a couple of new ways to center the bowl blanks on the glue block. None of them worked. So I was reduced to using a Longworth chuck attached to my second Nova chuck, hooked up to the tailstock with an adapter. That's quite a daisy chain, but it worked. You'll see it in the next shot. So I set it up here, set it flush, lock it in. Lock it in. It just has to stay flush there. It will turn as I go with the hot glue. And I just put it on and turn as I go. Get a nice bead on here. And let that dry and cool, and then I will disassemble this part and that part, and continue to turn the ring. When you're making rings for these bowls, good angles are between 40 and 50 degrees. 45 to 50, you get a very shallow bowl, but as you get towards 40, they get a little more steep-sided. For these ring bowls, I have found that 42 degrees approximately is a good amount. And I just keep going. Okay, the first one is done. Well, I'm through on it. You can see that, but there is a lot of glue. It came off a couple of times. I had to really glue the snot out of it. So now it's time to take the glue off. It's hot glue, so the weapon of choice is denatured alcohol. Don't tell anybody I have this stuff. It's supposed to be illegal here in California. But I got it before it became illegal. So you take a Q-tip and you work it around, especially on the edges. It will go in and under at times. And you put it all in here, and with any luck, the glue will relax itself in just a little bit. So it's relaxed from the big ring, so now I have to relax it from the small ring so I can get the big ring off, and then we will glue this big ring and the small ring together and make a new bowl out of it. Now let's see if we will make a decent bowl out of this. And yeah, I think this one's going to make a nice bowl. What do you think? So the job now is to line the bowls up so that the patterns match up and it looks like a bowl, and that takes a little bit of fussing here, but you can eventually get the bowl where you want it so that the patterns all line up, the pieces of wood all line up. When I do that, what I want to do is hold it still and take a pencil and draw around here so that I know how much room I have for the glue. The reason I did the pencil marks is I want very little glue to get on the inside of those pencil marks, because that's going to make it hard for me to realign them, and it's just wasted glue. So I'm going to start with this one because I have the big enough area. I am not a professional wood turner by any stretch of the imagination. That's why I started this channel, because most of you aren't either, and you're also learning, as am I. And I think it's a good thing for you to see the mistakes and how we work on the mistakes. The trick here is to get these back on where they belong. And then leave them alone for about 5 minutes before I try to put weight on and clamp them down. That way the glue has a chance to tack up and when I put the weight on the top of these to clamp them, they won't slide with the weight. Well, I'm now ready to take these bowl blanks and actually turn them on the lathe. I made a larger diameter glue block so the glue would hold better. I used my cobbled together Longwith chuck centering system again. Okay, everything's glued up and the glue is cured. I've got a tailstock up to hold it just in case the glue doesn't while I work on the outside. Let's hope everything works out the way it's supposed to. I switch back and forth between various bowl gouges and carbide tools to get the outside just right. Some wood turners don't like carbide tools and others don't like gouges. I use both as the situation warrants. with this particular bowl, I think that's all I dare do with the chisels because I'm very thin here on the inside. I know it looks thick. It's thick up here, but it's thin down there. So I think from here on, it's going to be sanding. You've all seen sanding. So I will not show you that. I will come back once I get it all sanded up and ready to part it off. Okay, it's all sanded as good as I'm going to be able to get it done. I've got places that it has pulled grain out. I probably took it up too high. I went to from 60 to 320. Probably should have stopped at 240, but we'll live with it. I just blew off the sawdust, but I'm also going to put some denatured alcohol on it to get the last of the dust out of the pores. And let that dry out, and then put some finish on. On the prototype, I used a wipe-on poly. I may use that again here. I haven't decided yet. But I think wipe-on poly it'd be good because these are going to get a lot of dings and dangs with people's jewelry. So I think wipe-on poly is going to be the best way to go with it. This is wipe-on poly clear gloss. Minwax is what they had in the store. There's other brands of it, but they're all pretty much the same. Just have to make sure you get it shaken up well. Clear is not as bad as satin. Satin has some diffusers in it. They all tend to settle to the bottom. Clear generally doesn't. But I still shake it up, make sure I've got everything right. And I just use blue paper towel to wipe it on. I'm going to put on several small coats, several thin coats here. First coat's going to soak in, and after that it should be a little more won't take as much of the poly. I like putting the finishes on before dismounting the bowl. That way, if I put the finish on too thick, I can turn on the lathe at its slowest speed to minimize drips and runs while the finish cures. That's going to be a nice looking bowl. I was afraid it wouldn't, but I think it's going to be all right. So we'll wait for this to dry. I'll put the second coat on tomorrow morning before I leave for Oakland for my volunteer work, and then put the third coat on tomorrow night when we get home, and then I'll hit it with some Yorkshire grit and Hampshire sheen, and then that should be very, very nice. Talk to you later. Now to part it off, this was a 3/4 inch, the whole bowl was from a 3/4 inch piece of wood. So this base is 3/4 of an inch tall, and I don't particularly like that, so I want to cut it off at about this point, so that it's a nice small base but it'll actually be a little wider. So I'm going to use my parting tool, and I'll start it off. I will finish it when I get to where I'm scared that's going to fall off and fly around the shop. I will stop and then finish it off with my Japanese pole saw. And here we go. That's a little thicker stub in there than I really like to do. But I'm getting a lot of vibration that I don't like, so I'm going to switch now to the Japanese pull saw. And there we are. No muss, no fuss. Now, I did not cut this back, the inside cut, a concave cut like you normally do. But that's because I'm going to mount it back up into a Longwood chuck and finish the bottom. And I'm going to finish the bottom of this one and the other ones that I have here. So I'll do them all at once. I'm flattening out the rough dismounting cuts, then making a foot so the bowl has a better chance of sitting level when loaded with jewelry. I'm using my Badan tool to create a flat area inboard of the foot to accept my logo. Okay, I've got all the bowls done, and right now it is laser engraving my logo on the bottoms of all the bowls. And when this is done, I will show you all the bowls. The ring bowls for the granddaughters-in-law are now done. What you're looking at is the bottoms of them. I think they look pretty nice. I will do them differently the next time I do them, but for right now I think these are pretty good. This is the end of this project. I'll be editing the video and putting it up on YouTube for you all to see it. This is the first one I've done, so be kind in your comments, please. And once I get it all edited and up there, please, if you like what I do and how I do it, please subscribe and like, and if you want to share, you can do that too. We will talk to you later when I do the next project.